Before I tell you this story, I want to ask you for something real quick. If stories like this matter to you, stories about family, quiet moments, and the things we don't always say out loud, then please take a second to subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button if you've ever had a moment in your life that changed you quietly, and leave a comment telling me where you're watching from, your city, your country, anywhere in the world. It might seem like a small thing, but it helps these stories reach people who might need them more than they realize. All right, take a breath, settle in, because what I'm about to share isn't loud, but it lasts that my dad made me happy today. And I don't mean the kind of happiness that comes from jokes or good news or a decent day. I mean the kind that arrives unexpectedly, without warning, when you aren't emotionally prepared for it. The kind that tightens your chest before you even understand why. The kind that makes you replay moments later in the quiet, staring at nothing, asking yourself how something so small could shift something so deep. What he did wasn't dramatic. There was no announcement, no celebration, no tears at first. But somehow, without raising his voice or making a scene, he cracked open years of silence between us, years of unsaid things, years of misunderstandings we didn't even realize we were carrying. And once that door opened, there was no closing it again. Stay with me, because what happened that day didn't just change how I see my father, it changed how I see myself. My name is Lisa. I'm 20 years old, and like a lot of people my age, I'm stuck in that strange in-between space. Not quite a child anymore, but not fully confident as an adult either. It's that age where you're expected to have answers while secretly still hoping someone older knows what they're doing and can guide you. Growing up, my dad and I were never emotional people. No shouting matches, no long heart-to-heart conversations, no dramatic arguments or tear-filled apologies. My dad, Robert, isn't someone who uses many words. He shows love differently. He fixes things before they break. He notices when something's running low and replaces it without saying anything. He wakes up early, moves quietly, and makes sure the house keeps working, even when no one's watching. If you wanted to understand my dad, you didn't listen to what he said, you watched what he did. That morning didn't feel important. There was no sign in the air, no sudden sense of anticipation, no voice in my head telling me, "Pay attention, this matters." The sky outside my bedroom window was dull and pale, the kind of gray you get in early spring. Not sad, not hopeful, just undecided. I stayed in bed longer than I should have, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house exist. Old houses have their own language, their own breathing. The quiet creak of floorboards, the distant clink of ceramic downstairs, the subtle hum of electricity moving through walls. I didn't need to check the time. I already knew who was awake. That was my dad. He's always been like that. Up early, moving carefully, as if the world itself might break if he made too much noise. When I finally got out of bed, the smell hit me first. Coffee, toast. That smell does something to me. It pulls me backward through time, back to mornings when my feet didn't touch the floor as I sat at the kitchen table, back to watching my dad read the newspaper like nothing else in the world mattered yet. When I walked into the kitchen, he was standing near the window. The morning light caught the gray in his hair, and for a brief moment, when I wasn't ready for, I noticed something I hadn't allowed myself to notice before. He looked older, not weak, not tired, just older, and something sharp pressed against my chest. "Morning, kiddo," he said without turning around. "Morning," I replied, reaching for a mug. When he handed me the coffee pot, our hands brushed, just for a second. His skin was rough, warm. It was such a small detail, but it stayed with me. That we sat at the table together, not awkward, not uncomfortable, but heavy, like the air right before a storm, when nothing looks different yet, but everything feels charged. I talked about my classes, about how unsure I felt, about how I didn't know if I was doing anything right with my life, and he listened. Not the distracted kind of listening where someone waits for their turn to talk, real listening. He asked questions that showed he was actually there with me. Still, something felt unfinished, like words were waiting between us. After breakfast, he cleared his throat. "Lisa, do you have some time today?" I looked up. My dad doesn't usually ask questions like that. He's a planner, a routine man, someone who always knows where he's going. I was thinking maybe we could go for a drive. That caught me off guard. I hesitated, then nodded. Okay. I had no idea that drive would quietly change everything, that we left town slowly, past streets I'd known my entire life, past corners filled with memories I hadn't thought about in years. Eventually, the houses thinned out, bare trees, open fields, long stretches of road. The radio played softly, an old song I recognized but couldn't name. I watched my dad's hands on the steering wheel, steady, certain, and I wondered where we were going. That he pulled into a small parking lot near a park I hadn't seen in years, almost empty. The moment I recognized it, my chest tightened. This was the place where we used to feed ducks when I was little, where my dad pretended to chase them while I laughed until my stomach hurt. It looked smaller now, but heavier, more meaningful. We got out of the car. The air was cool and clean. We walked along a narrow gravel path, our footsteps crunching in rhythm. I wanted to ask why we were there, but something told me to wait. He stopped near a wooden bench by a pond. The water was still, reflecting the sky like glass. He took a deep breath, then turned to face me, and for the first time in a long time, I saw something in his eyes I wasn't used to seeing: vulnerability. "I don't always say things right," he said slowly, "and I know I haven't said enough." Then he looked directly at me. "But I need you to know how proud I am of you, not just for what you do, but for who you are." My throat tightened instantly. Those words hit harder than I expected. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I've been writing this for weeks," he said. "I didn't know when I'd have the courage to give it to you." My hands trembled as I unfolded it. The handwriting was familiar, careful, intentional. He wrote about watching me grow up, about worrying he wasn't doing enough, about loving me in ways he didn't always know how to explain. It wasn't fancy, it was honest, and that made it powerful. Standing there by the pond, something clicked. My dad had always loved me, just quietly, just differently, and that day he stepped out of his comfort zone to meet me where I was. I looked up at him with tears in my eyes and smiled. That we stayed there longer than I expected. The world kept moving. Ducks glided across the water, the wind shifted the reflection of the sky, and that's when I realized something important. Some of the most life-changing moments don't come with applause. They don't announce themselves. They happen quietly, without witnesses. And that moment, that was only